so I come back to Caracas, and first thing I do, like I call Luis Daniel, like I got it. I know what's the thing that we always wanted to do, and we didn't know what to do. We're gonna do a pop up. We called it GasTROPop, and the name GasTROPop. The trop was in capital because trop is like a lot in
in French, yeah.
In French, so it was like giving a lot, enjoying everything. So
Have you decided what you're gonna get?
oh yeah, definitely we're gonna get one of each.
One of each. Got it. Hello and welcome to One of Each. So this is a very special episode. As you probably noticed, you don't have Nidal Barake introducing his own podcast because today we will be interviewing the man himself. I'm Paola. I'm also a chef, and I met Nidal about 5 years ago and married him about 2. So I'll be interviewing him today.
Almost 2.5, no? Almost 3.
Almost 3. Yeah. So, well, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for subscribing, for the support. You can reach us in all the platforms, YouTube, Spotify.
All the streaming
all
platforms.
All of them. Share it, like it, subscribe, and join us. Yes. So welcome, Nidal. Welcome to your own podcast.
Thank you, Pao.
So I'm gonna take credit. I think I told you that we should interview you.
Mm-hmm.
Because although I know I'm biased, I really think that your stories want to be told. And you're always on the other side, very curious about other people's trajectories and life and food. But I think yours is one story to tell because I know it's a story of, perseverance and hard work and evolution. It's a great example of how you know where you start, but you really have no idea where you're going to end up. Mm-hmm. And how life evolves and takes you places. And I think the beautiful thing about it is that the conducting thread throughout the changes in your life can be food, is food. And you breathe, and you breathe that love and passion that you have for food throughout your life. And I think it's important for your listeners to know it.
Thanks for pushing for this because, again, as you mentioned, I love to listen to everybody's stories, to learn about it. And sometimes, I don't want to say I'm shy, but I don't know. I think
don't think you're shy.
I think it's more interesting for me to learn other people's stories than tell mine. But I appreciate being here.
Yeah. No, you're not shy. You just, I guess, I don't know, like more, you don't feel maybe your story is that important or something. I don't know.
We'll see.
So, let's start from the very beginning. So it's October 1972 in Maracaibo, mm-hmm. right? City you were born. So
you want to learn what my first meal was?
I don't think you remember, but I think definitely let's just talk a little bit about obviously food culture at home, Maracaibo, and kind of like that, those first moments or memories that you have with food. Right?
Yeah. Bueno, first of all, I was born in Maracaibo, one of my favorite cities for street food. I've said it all the time in every outlet. So I was born in Maracaibo from Lebanese parents. So growing up, it was very nice and challenging at the same time to live in between two cultures that even though they were super different, they complemented each other. So at home, I grew up in a Lebanese home with Lebanese food, Lebanese traditions. Lunch was super important at home. No matter what you're doing, from school or playing sports, whatever, come lunchtime, usually 12:30, 12:45, you gotta be home. We gotta have lunch together. then you can go do whatever you want. But lunch was sacred, no? And I appreciate that a lot from my parents. But then the dinner was the opposite. Dinner was very loose. Like each one of us had dinner whenever we wanted. We had whatever we wanted. If like there were leftovers from lunch, or I would do like sandwiches. I would do like pizzas with pita bread. So I was there like I don't know 8, 10 years old, like doing my own like pizzas with pita bread. And of course my mom is a great cook.
An amazing cook.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that appreciation for good food started a very early age, and again that exploration of Lebanese food. My mom would cook. I mean, yeah, Lebanese, Italian, Venezuelan, but it was definitely very diverse. But then, as I grew up as a teenager, I started like exploring Maracaibo street food with my friends, or like a night out that ended up like at a carrito, like a in Maracaibo we don't say perro caliente, hot dogs.
I know.
We say pan con
salchicha.
queso, pan con salchicha.
So bread with sausage or bread with cheese.
Exacto, salchiqueso. So
of course you had to make a remark and make it different, right?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. So I loved street food in Maracaibo, tumba ranchos, pastelitos, you name it. So I lived between those two food worlds, where at home was like very well made, prepared meals, and at home and outside like street food and everything. Maracaibo wasn't big on like restaurant scene or anything, but I think street food was great. So I grew up in that context.
And I want to make a remark of like not only how good of a cook your mother is, but also of the food culture. There's a story of you. I mean, we're moving forward a little bit as an adult, bringing back like the top chefs of Venezuela at the time, and your mother cooking lunch for them.
Oh yeah, that was a very nice story. That was Let's fast forward and then we'll go back. So there was a group in Venezuela called Venezuela Gastronomica, where all the major chefs were members of, and they would do mostly in Caracas, like dinners, conferences, everything. And one dinner, I was already living in Caracas at the time, so they did an event in Maracaibo, and we went, and many chefs were there: Sumito, Alonso, Núñez, Federico Tischler, Carlos Garcia. I mean, it was like the who is who of the Venezuelan culinary world was there. I don't know if Maria Fernanda, Ana Belén, you name them, no? So we were in Maracaibo, and the conference was, I think, Friday and Saturday. So I invited everybody on Sunday for lunch at home, and my mom cooked for all these amazing chefs. She did, beside probably Carlos and Sumito, Victor Moreno, she didn't know anyone, and she didn't know she was cooking for like the best, maybe 30 best chefs of Venezuela. And she didn't go crazy. She did like homey Lebanese food.
Amazing.
And some of them still remember
to this day. Because
meal.
We've met them, in the past years, and all of them still remember.
Yeah.
My God, your mom's lunch, this and that.
Uh-huh. So that was
that was. And me, who is like a new member of your family, our family. I see that very much. That was the culture at home, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks. So but going back to the early days, and I mean, even though my parents, we used to cook a lot at home, they appreciated also going out. Maybe not as much as we do, probably, but I mean, it was something like Sundays. Definitely, we would go out for lunch, Chinese restaurants, parrillas, whatever, or one dinner here and there. And
you have a good story of Chinese lumpias, no?
Yeah, I'll go there now. But I used to go from a very early age with my parents to experience the restaurant, sit at the table, look at the menu. And I don't know if the restaurants didn't have it or my parents didn't encourage me to, but it's not like we were in a French restaurant and I was having, I don't know, like chicken tenders or something. I would order from the menu, like adult food. But I was like, at that age, I was already like excited, like sitting at a restaurant, looking at the menu, like looking at the waiters, like enjoying that atmosphere. I loved it. And the story that you were mentioning, we used to go a lot to a restaurant called Palace. It was a Chinese restaurant in Indiomara. I loved it. And remember, we always had the same waiter called Saul. I'll never forget his name. So when I was, I don't know, a teenager with my budget, I would go to Palace like mid-afternoon, like 3 p.m. or something. I would sit there by myself and order lumpias spring rolls, which is what I could afford. So I would sit there, have an order of lumpias. Saul, who knew me because I was there every Sunday with my parents, would like take care of me. Sometimes would send me something else. So I was there, like sit down, order my lumpias, eat them, and leave.
Your merienda, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like even like exploring restaurants or enjoying
And
like
the fact that you were not like embarrassed as a child to or as a teenager to go by yourself. I mean, there's many adults to this day that don't go by themselves to restaurants, and yet you were a kid and you did it. And it was just because you were so driven by this love of this ambient and eating. And,
and I don't know, like even as a teenager, when you start like growing up and maybe start dating and you're like, I don't know, 16 and 17, like I would probably, and they no, maybe I didn't have any second date because my first date would like I would invite like a 17-year-old girl, like, hey, let's go to this restaurant. She would be like, what the fuck? So yeah, but that was for me fun. That's what I enjoyed. And there's so many stories of that. I told you also, like talking about the love for restaurants and connected to also traveling and exploring. Those days I love football, soccer.
I know.
Yeah,
yes,
I
know.
I follow I follow the Premier League, the Serie A, the La
Copa del
Liga,
Rey, all of them.
all of them, Champions League, you name them. So when I was a kid, my idol was Michel Platini, the French footballer, and because of Michel Platini, I became a fan of Juventus. So at the time, they would show the Serie A, the Italian calcio, in el Channel 8, which was a
the public
channel, no?
Uh-huh.
So every Sunday, I would be watching Football Italiano, the Italian calcio, with all the teams like Juventus, Roma, Milan, Inter, everything. And all the ads in that show, like the intro or the middle, was like mostly Italian restaurants in Caracas, no? So it was super fun because, I don't know, they were like, oh, and this is a score from, I don't know, Michel Platini, and go to Da Vittorio, in Da Vittorio, si mancha bene. So they always had those like
taglines or whatever.
Jingles. And I had like a list of all these amazing restaurants in...
And from what I understand, you actually like wrote them down, and when you would travel to Caracas, you would make a list of it, and then when you would go to Caracas, you would make your dad take you there.
Exactly.
No?
So yeah, we would go to Caracas for vacation. Sometimes just the four of us. I have an older sister, or sometimes like 2 or 3 families, cousins, and like in preparation of those trips, I would tell my father, hey, these are the restaurants that we're gonna check out in.
Which I find unbelievable because, I mean, as a side note, when we're planning any trip, even if it's a 24-hour trip, you already have a list of restaurants where we're eating, to the point that I've kind of stopped researching restaurants because it's no point arguing. And I just find it so sweet and so... like so true to you that even from a kid, you were already like in this mindset.
And the other thing, and if my father, I'm sure he hated me at the time. Sometimes he would go to Caracas for work, like 2 days, 3 days, whatever. And he would have to bring me, like there was also this amazing pastry shop called La Casa Brioche, very famous in Caracas. And they had like it was like a chocolate cake. I mean, it was amazing. And my father, like, if he didn't show up from a trip in Caracas with that cake, like he would be in trouble. So yeah, all those little things. And again, like today we consume media from so many different sources, social, and people like you choose your restaurants because of what's going on Instagram or
Correct.
the lists or awards and everything. At the moment, my source was watching TV
TV.
and the Italian football games. So
Exactly.
I mean, it hasn't changed. Now, of course, the sources are much more
Bigger.
different.
Yeah, of course. But it's kind of like the same in a way, no?
Yeah.
Amazing. So, right. So let's just move forward a little bit in your life. You obviously graduate from high school. You go to Universidad del Zulia.
Yes, as an economist.
And yes, ladies and gentlemen, the man is an economist. That is true. So at this point, obviously, you I don't know, you start exploring a little bit more the city.
Yes.
Is there any sort of food moment during your uni years that sort of
I mean,
think it-
I will tell you, like studying economics in Maracaibo and then doing the MBA in Delaware, which was right
exactly.
away because I graduated as an economist. I loved my career as an economist, but I ended up I don't know
What
shit
to do.
about anything. Like, so I went straight. I did an internship and an MBA, but we'll go there later. But no, the university again. It was Maracaibo university years. Party city, lots of going out, lots of eating out. But
Whiskey
again,
pequeños.
whiskey and tequeños. But again, very like a lot of street food. I remember we had friends in my group of friends at the university. We'd have like these weird schedules where we'd have like a class from like 8 to 10, then a break from 10 to 12, and then another class at 12. So we will get together, and those breaks we will go have breakfast. Like in Maracaibo, there's like amazing like empanadas, pastelitos places. And sometimes when we were all guys, let's say we were like 4 guys or something, the person who would eat the less would pick up the check.
Oh.
So we would be like stuffing our faces with pastelitos and empanadas until one would be like,
So
okay, I give up. I
unnecessary.
give up. But no, it was again exploring. Exploring street food was the big one, and I started cooking more more than pita breads
Pizzas.
becoming pizzas. I started cooking like more like grown up
Okay, so
food.
exploring more that.
Yeah,
Okay,
learning from
yeah.
my mom and things like that.
And then, so you say, and then we go to Indiana. So what year is
Yeah,
this?
I went
roughly?
to Indiana in 96.
Okay.
95, 96. I just graduated from 95. I did an internship in Indianapolis.
I mean, it's also I never said this to you, but I think it's great that you moved, even though you went to Indiana and not to like the West Coast. You moved in to the United States in the middle of the grunge movement, which
Yes.
is like probably the biggest music style of yours.
Yeah,
no?
it's
Like,
my biggest influence. I lived the born and death of Nirvana and Kurt Cobain, all the grunge Seattle
Yeah.
movement, the Chapel Hill, and all the different hubs around the country where like grunge music was becoming a
Amazing.
thing. So yeah, being in the US gave me also access to concerts. Like I never saw Nirvana live, but probably every other band from that era, Jane's Addiction, Red Hot Chili Peppers, you name them. I was even I mean, and Indiana was Indianapolis. I mean, still was close to a college town, so all these bands and college radios would be
Yeah.
like a thing. So yeah, I
Amazing.
spent like 6-7 months in Indianapolis. I made amazing friends that you've
Still
met
to this
also, and we're
day,
still close. And some funny stories there. Again, we were on an intern budget, so pretty much cooking and eating fast casual or fast food. But I remember like we used to go to Taco Bell all the time, and there was a Chinese buffet where the all-you-can-eat menu for lunch was $4.99,
Oh my god.
and the dinner was like $7.99. So on Fridays, like not every Friday, it was like 6 of us, like 6 guys. On the Thursday before, we would call each other like, "Hey, tomorrow we're going to the Chinese buffet. I have Tito, a Mexican friend. Remember the phrase? Like he would say, "Mañana vamos a partirle la madre al chino." Like tomorrow we're gonna kick this guy's ass. No, so we would go there, pay $4.99 each. Like I remember, like like picture ourselves like in slow motion
I
entering
can
the
imagine the
restaurant.
owner going like, no.
Oh no, these guys again. But yeah, it was again. It was fun. It was we were living on, I think like 1,500 a month,
Bucks, of
but it was
course.
Indiana. It was 1995.
And this is the house that you were sharing with three other guys?
No, that was
Delaware.
in
Okay.
Delaware. So from there, I went to Delaware, to University of Delaware. I did an MBA there. I stayed
The
there like
University of Presidents.
exactly, and not very popular lately, but bueno. So yeah, there it was very nice because it was a house of four people. Like we have downstairs like huge kitchen, living room, and very nice backyard, and upstairs like 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. So I shared the house. Well, first I was with like some random people, but then I talked to the landlord. I say, hey, we are all like grad students, like three of my classmates. So I had him like it was like every three quarter he would renovate. So I had
You
him
keep that.
kick out the other roommates, and we took over the house for the full 2 years. I told him, hey, we are 4 grad students. We're gonna do a contract for 2 years. It was like a perfect situation for him, and that's what we did. And I mean, we were four, and nobody else cooked, so I was like the unofficial cook of the house. And sometimes we even have like barbecues, and even if each one of us invited 2 or 3 friends, we were already having like a
Of
15
course.
people party. So I used to cook for all of us. Remember once, Matt, one of the roommates, his family was into hunting, and he would go like once a month. He would go during
Back home.
hunting season. He would go with his parents or father family to hunt. And this guy, he calls us like super excited. He hunted his first deer,
Oh my God.
and he's like, okay, I'm taking the deer to the, I mean, they have a butcher where you take it and they clean it and break it up in pieces, and the different meats and ground meat and this the ribs, everything. So we run to like, I think it was like a Walmart or something. We bought a freezer, like small freezer, and we stuffed the freezer with the whole venison. So we were eating for the next month and a half like venison chili. I mean, I was
Coming up with just different things, no?
searching recipes. I mean,
And I wonder, like, because at this point, how much venison had you had in your life?
maybe zero exactly. So that was like super exciting, and also like again with a student budget, and again Newark, Delaware wasn't necessarily like the culinary mecca for restaurants. So, but if I wanted to have a nice meal, I couldn't afford it. I couldn't go to a fancy restaurant, but
you
I
had to
would
make it, yeah.
I would cook it at home. I remember melting pot was like the fancy. Oh, you're going to melting pot? Like, oh my god, it's like a fondue chain. That was like, oh, I'm gonna splurge. I'm
You're
gonna
gonna
go to
splurge.
the melting pot.
And at what point were you a pizza delivery guy?
Well, that was yeah. I delivered pizza one summer for Papa John's, and
Oh, I thought it was Pizza Hut. There you
no,
go.
Papa John's. I remember we were I mean, my family we were doing a trip to San Francisco, like the California,
West Coast, yeah.
yeah. And I finished classes, and the trip was like in a month and a half. So we had like, I have cousins in Washington, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay in the area, and I'll just meet you in San Francisco. So I say, okay, what I'm gonna do this month and a half. So I started delivering pizzas for Papa John's. I made crazy money at the time, and enjoyed my summer
Of course.
delivering pizzas by night while waiting for
your
this
family.
trip. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
And at the end, of course, I'm a delivery guy, but I ended up like meeting
People.
and the people who were making the pizza. So I would jump in the line and
Oh, really?
yeah, help them just for fun,
Oh.
and eat so much pizza, of course, for
of
free.
course. So you finish your master's, and at this point, so we're talking like 98, roughly.
98,
yeah?
yes.
Venezuela was obviously a very different country.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and you got offered. I remember it's 2 different positions. One is for Pillsbury in
Yeah, 3. Actually, 3.
Minnesota.
Uh-huh. AIG, an insurance company in Delaware.
in Delaware or
Ernst and Young in Caracas.
in Caracas.
So yeah, so by pure chance, I was in Delaware, and at the time, like the most sought after jobs for an MBA was either to go into like finance, like banking and everything,
Consultancy,
or
no?
consulting, like the big
Exactly.
five, like Ernst and Young, Andersen,
Yeah.
you name them. And yeah, I was offered the job to work for Ernst and Young, but they would send me to the main Latin American office, which happened to be Caracas.
Which is why the remark of the fact that Venezuela was a very different country
Yeah.
back then, that the let's say HQ of Ernst and Young for Latam was in Caracas
Exactly.
because of what the country was and represented for the
Yeah.
area, basically.
And the job offer, like money wise, career wise, was the best one. So
Incredible.
I didn't think twice. I moved back to Caracas, and it was my first time. I mean, of course, for me, being from Maracaibo, Caracas was okay. It's another city. I've been there many times visiting. I had not many friends, but I had some friends. So for me, it was like also an adventure
Of course,
to go there. I remember Chris Salcedo was my best friend there. He had already moved there. He was working for Colgate, so he was there. Roberto, who ended up being also my business partner, moved like a month after I moved. He was working for Lucent Technology. So, like very fast, I made like a...
You made your group.
Yeah, I made a group. And of course, working with Ernst & Young, very intense hours, long hours.
I mean, this was wear a full suit and tie kind
Oh
of job.
yeah. I had to wear a tie and suit every day,
Yeah,
but
super corporate.
Fridays were casual Friday. So yeah, it was an amazing job, very intense, like work hard, party hard type
Yeah.
of lifestyle. Again, I was like 25.
I always think of it of like your Wolf of Wall Street period in your life.
Probably,
you know?
yeah. Maybe not that crazy,
No,
but yeah.
maybe. But yeah,
Yeah.
in the intensity of
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
and
of course.
at the time, Caracas was an amazing city to be. Culinary speaking was probably
At
the
its
most,
peak.
the most, or not, if not the most, one of the most interesting cities in Latin America. Amazing restaurants, amazing food scene, amazing chefs. It was very alive, and I know now. I'm happy to see now. It's.
Coming
I mean,
back,
of course,
yeah.
there's like a bubble, but there's amazing things going on. Thank God.
Yeah.
So
And also, like, just for people to know, like, so Caracas, Venezuela, but let's talk about Caracas specifically, has obviously had so much immigration.
Yeah.
So you could really have any kind of food at top quality, from Lebanese food, Italian food, Spanish food, Chinese, like
yeah.
almost whatever you wanted, you could find food-wise
Yes.
in Caracas.
So I was in that amazing place where we would explore this amazing Basque restaurants in La Candelaria,
yeah.
Chinese restaurants in
In
El
El
Bosque.
Bosque,
It
yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
culinary speaking, it was amazing. And at the time, working for Ernst & Young, I started traveling
A
a
lot.
lot throughout Latin America. When I say a lot, it's like
No,
a
I
lot.
mean, you
No?
technically lived like 3 months in Argentina and
Yeah.
then 6 months in Peru. Like,
Yeah.
it was quite. I always felt when you've told me about this is that it was not just a business trip. You it was so long that you had time to semi-immerse yourself
Absolutely.
in the culture and in the city. right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that took me, I mean, all over Latin America. And of course, every time I traveled, many times I was traveling by myself, because some projects you would go with a project team, but sometimes it would be like a one-man show type of project where I would go for like a month or 2 weeks or whatever. So I started exploring restaurants now with a budget.
Yeah. And also, like, in the logic continuation of yourself, where obviously every time you would travel, you would find out and search
Yeah.
for those restaurants, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would travel to every city in Latin America, explore like the markets, the fine dining, the traditional restaurants, meeting local people, meeting local chefs. So I started being like this official bitácora of where to eat. So everybody, even people who didn't know me, like I would receive a random email from like a partner in Argentina, like, hey, Nidal, I'm going to Sao Paulo. I heard you have like some good
Really? That I
recommendations
didn't
there.
know.
Yeah, and I would like have tell them now
So
go to this
literally,
place.
like the word spread around within the company
Yeah,
that you were the guy to
I,
go to
exactly. I
for
was the
restaurant
like you're
recommendations.
traveling to Guatemala, ask Nidal, no?
Okay. So is this sort of at what point? Because obviously we're now talking. This is the .com era
Mm-hmm.
and the sort of the search of like blogs and all
Yes.
of that. At what point do you start like making you made an app actually,
Yeah.
right? And you had a
Yes.
blog, so
Yeah, I mean, talking about the .com era, while working at Ernst& Young, we started the seed of what TEDx is now, a tech mobile company that's being now, I mean, we founded it in the year 2000, so 25 years. Talking about long hours and a lot of work, no? But yeah, so I started collecting all this information about restaurants, traveling, and of course, Caracas was, again, very exciting city to be living in food wise. So I started writing like restaurant reviews without any writing experience. Of course, I would read other reviews, I would write my own about Caracas or about other cities that ended up
so you
on.
started in a blog
I started a
basically.
blog called YoCulinario,
Mm-hmm.
and at Twitter at the time. Twitter was like on its peak, so
Mm-hmm.
it was a blog and Twitter. Both were called YoCulinario, and I became like a local source, like semi-local celebrity. Before the food blogs, food influencer stuff that's going on now, it was like a very strong place for content that people would go there for restaurant reviews. People started like inviting me to review their restaurants, and I would like people even because of Twitter. People didn't know who I was, so they would say, "Oh, you are at YoCulinario," and they would know my alias, but they would know who
Who
I
you
am,
are?
or
Yeah.
and that became
A
huge.
little bit what happened to me.
Yeah, exactly,
Actually,
exactly.
now that I
And
think about it.
I mean, Yo Culinario became huge, and I remember El Nacional and a major newspaper. Every year they had the Twitter awards, so they would award the biggest Twitter account by category. And I always, for like 3 or 4 years in a row, I always came second place after
Really,
Sumito.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah. So
wow.
I was always like Sumito would always win the award, and I would be like second or
Claro,
third
this
place.
was Sumito's peak time,
Sí,
right?
exacto.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And I think it's, I mean, I think it's pretty crazy. And I want to make a remark here because of like, one of the things that I admire so much about you is how much vision you have and how you're able to like really see the future and put your mind on that and achieve it. And I think it's crazy to think that in the very, very early 2000s, you actually developed an app.
yeah.
So,
Well, that was a bit later.
a bit later,
Yeah.
but but you were so ahead in that sense.
Yeah,
You know?
it was. Yeah, now curated content is a thing, and apps is a thing. But I
Exactly.
started the app Yo Culinario with the help of Guillermo and Gabriel, who are still part of the Gluttonomy team today. We started at La Causa. We'll go there later. So it was Yo Culinario as an app was a curated list of where to eat, not 200, 300 restaurants. My favorite 12, 15, maybe 20 tops places where to eat in 25 cities around the world. So that was the goal of
The goal.
Yo Culinario as an app. And I remember the numbers were great for the time. So as I started writing, also started like Anthony Bourdain became huge. I started watching Anthony Bourdain, reading all his book, and that inspired me to write from a different angle. So I wouldn't be writing anymore about restaurant reviews, but more about travel experiences, how food connected with social elements, with politics, with culture. So, watching Anthony inspired me a lot. And actually, when I was doing the blog, the name was Yo Culinario, but the other name that I wanted to explore was Hungry for More. because the opening line for No Reservations with Anthony Bourdain was, I travel, I eat, I write, and I'm hungry for more. And I took that as a motto of life almost.
Yeah. Bueno, I think it's tagline that you call it for YoCulinario was food is culture.
Exactly. No, that's
That's right. No, that's Gluttonomy.
that's Gluttonomy.
I'm
Yes.
mixing it up. Okay. So, and then so this brings me to one of there's a couple of like I think very important trips and interviews that it's worth mentioning. The first one, I guess, is your trip to Ireland and what sort of derived from that. And then the other one that maybe you want to briefly talk about that I think is a beautiful story is meeting Ferguson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both in the UK.
Both in the UK. No.
Well,
Ireland,
exactly. In Great Britain.
Yeah.
Both in Great Britain. Yeah. So the trip to Ireland triggered another, or paved the way for what would become like serious food writing. So I was with Ricardo Soto, one of my best friends, still very in touch. He's in London. He was working for I think GE Capital, or one of the 16 financial companies he's been worked for in the last 20 years.
Yes.
So he was in Dublin, and we planned a trip. So we went to Dublin. I mean, I went to visit him in Dublin. We went to Scotland, like Glasgow, Edinburgh, and we did a road trip to the south of Ireland, which was beautiful. The scenery, the little towns. We went to like Cork and play a little town called Ballydehob. I mean, it was beautiful, and we ended up in this town called Dingle in Dingle Bay. For those of you who don't picture it, imagine like the lower western part of Ireland. There's a fisher town called Dingle. So we were there. We met, we were, of course, like going to pubs and everything. And we met two guys, Scottish guys, who were cooks at a restaurant called Out of the Blue, the restaurant. So we met them like, hey, come for dinner to our restaurant tonight. They were like literally fishing what was going to be served that night. So out of the blue, we met these guys and we went to had dinner at the restaurant. It was like one of the most amazing dinners. We had chablis. These guys doing like the freshest seafood and fish. It was a beautiful experience. So when I'm back in Caracas, I'm with my good friend Ana Maria Khan, who was the editor of Complot magazine at the time. Complot was like the magazine for like lifestyle travel.
Fashion, yeah. Huge.
So as a friend, we're having a coffee, a beer, whatever, and I'm telling Ana Maria about the trip, and I tell her this story about Dingle. And she's like, oh, that's such a beautiful story. Why don't you write it for the magazine? And I'm like, well, I don't have...
I'm not a writer.
I'm not a writer. I do restaurant reviews on my blog. Like if it's my blog, my writing. If nobody reads it, it's fine.
There's no rules in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
But she's like, don't worry about it. Write it as you're telling me the story. I'll work on it. I'll
edit it.
I'll edit it. So I ended up writing the whole story. She, of course, helped me edit it and everything. It ended up in the magazine, and the feedback was great. Like, people loved it. And Ana Maria, as she know, I was traveling all the time. She's like, why don't you keep writing all those fantastic stories? So I would like travel again to Brazil, Peru, Argentina, and I would write those stories. I would start interviewing like Elena Rizzo from Mani or Virgilio for Central.
Because at this point, you are slowly but surely getting more and more involved in the food scene, you know?
Yeah, and and food at the time, I mean, food today is huge, and to think like, I don't know, somebody would just knock on Virgilio's door like, hey, I want to interview you, and they're like, okay, yeah, right. Talk to my communications team and so on. But at the time, it was very natural, very organic.
One-to-one.
Yeah, it was very organic. I mean, I remember my first meal at Central in the first location was like a leg of lamb with potatoes, and I mean, it was,
Oca and whatever.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was like a la carte meal with appetizers and mains and dessert, and everybody knows what Central and Virgilio and the whole team is today, no? But I started traveling, interviewing those chefs, having like building those relationships with those chefs. And other articles would be about me going to Paris and going to there's a story with Chris Salcedo, who was living in Paris. So I was like super hangover from my previous day. It was my 40th birthday in Torino, and I flew in the morning. We went to a market. We bought like some duck and chanterelle mushrooms, everything. We did an amazing meal. So I made an
A
article
story.
about that. No, so it was all like those travel and food stories, and I don't know. I ended up having, I don't know, 60 of those articles. Remember, and
And in other publications, it was not only Complot at this
yeah.
point. Other publications were calling
Yeah,
you to write for them.
yeah. At this
right?
point, they started. I was being recognized as a food travel writer, so they would call me from other magazines or other newspapers. I remember I wrote for like Hoja Santa in Mexico some beautiful articles. Well, I think they were beautiful. And there were like many food events at the time, like the Salón Internacional de Gastronomía en Caracas, or Mistura en Perú. Enrique Olvera did the Mesamérica in Mexico. So I would start to get invited to those events also to talk about food. But in those days, like all those conferences were like chef driven. I was like chefs demos and
yeah,
everything.
Yeah.
So I guess having somebody who's not a chef telling a story was
Yeah. And also like
yeah.
it was good timing in the sense that Venezuela played a role in the food scene of Latin America. So we were gonna getting invited, and obviously you were already inside the food scene because you were friends with all these people, and then sort of that carried you through these sort of international events in this sense.
And another milestone, I mean, just like Ana Maria can help me to get into Complot, Sasha Correa at the time was the editor of Cocina y Vino. And she's always been like, she was like 21 at the time, and she was already like the editor of this important food magazine in
Venezuela.
In Venezuela. No wonder where she is now. She's like working with Mugadits and the Culinary Center. She worked with Puyol. So she invited me to write for Cocina y Vino. Again, I think I wrote maybe 10 articles for them. It was the magazine, I think
it was bi-month?
Bi-monthly, yeah. But one of the most beautiful moments for me was when I tell her, hey, I'm going to London. I'm going to try to interview Fergus Henderson from St. John, one of my favorite restaurants ever. And say, I'm going to, like, if I interview him, I'll write the article for Cocina y Vino. And again, I contacted them by email. I ended up having lunch with Ferguson at the restaurant. It was I remember I arrived like at 11, so we talked like from 11 to 1. Then at 1 I had lunch. It was like sublime. And I remember I have my cousin Jad, who's in Melbourne in Australia. He's into cinema, photography, everything. He was in London at the time, so he came with me and he took hundreds of pictures of that moment. So that ended up being an article for Cocina y Vino, and for me, one of like most treasured memories. Now having lunch, with Fergus. And again, this was like 15, 18 years ago, and we've seen Fergus lately in London. He's not doing that well from a health perspective, unfortunately, but I'm glad I had the opportunity at the time to
do it. And actually, like at the office now, we have a mural with
Anthony Bourdain, Jonathan Gold, and Fergus Henderson.
Yeah, exactly. So, so at this point, I know that you do a course at the Cordon Bleu, so you kind of like you start to have this urge, let's call it, of maybe
Yeah.
a bit more like not formal training or some sort of formal training. You do an internship at Atlantique,
Yeah.
which was at the time like an institution
Yes.
in the food and party scene
Exactly.
of Caracas.
See,
And then at what point is GasTROPop?
yeah, that
Born.
was later. Actually,
That was
I
later,
met
okay.
GasTROPop. Yeah, so yeah, I felt like a curiosity. I mean, I was doing a career on tech and consulting. I was started already TEDx's at the time, but I was very curious about the food world. No, I remember this book Hit by Bill Buford, where he goes to Italy and himself immerses himself in restaurant with, I think, with Mario Batali at the time, and he writes about the kitchens, but from the inside. No, sorry. So I wanted to learn about the food scene, but not as a diner, but like as a cook or
Yeah, from
a
the other
chef.
side, basically, yeah.
So I remember I was working in Mexico, and I registered to the Cordon Bleu school, which was at the Anáhuac
Also, the
University.
Cordon Bleu was in Mexico.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that was like, I don't know, I went like to 5 days. It was
But
more
still,
like, yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I was
I think it's
wearing my jacket and my toque hat.
Yeah.
I have some pictures.
I mean, I know some chefs may disagree with me, but I've always supported to do some kind of course and classes, because there's something that school will teach you that the rush of a restaurant doesn't have the time or flexibility to do it. So I think it's really important for people to take some lessons. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to learn how a restaurant operates from the inside. So yeah, I did an internship, a stage, sorry, at Atlantique for like 4 months. And I would do like that from Monday to Thursday, because Friday was weekend, and I cannot be
yeah.
working in a
But I mean,
restaurant.
chapeau to you, because you were doing your Ernst and Young consultancy
Yeah.
in the morning, and then take off the suit, put on your chef jackets, and then at night go and do service,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I mean, I loved it, but I knew it wasn't. I mean, I love the food world. I know that I love the restaurant world, but I know, and also I was like probably 30 something at the time, so I didn't want to like switch careers and start from zero as
Of
a
course.
chef. But I appreciated the learning that I had, the appreciation that I had for the world. I married a chef.
Absolutely.
And,
Well, no, and not only that, I think, and going back to what I was saying at the very opening, that you never really know where life is going to take
Yeah.
you, and I feel that one of the great things about, for example, Gluttonomy, which we'll obviously talk later, is the fact that you have so much inside knowledge of this
Yeah.
industry, of the food industry, and you start to build that from that moment.
Yeah.
From the fact you can completely relate better to a chef client or a restaurant client, having been on their shoes, even if it was 20 years ago, even if it was just for a few months, but you've been there.
Absolutely.
So-
And actually, I had my chef jacket, and I did like a weekend stage at Osteria Francescana, and like I would do it once in a while, but it was for me very important to set the message that I respect the job's position. I'm not a chef. I'm just here to learn. So I had the jacket, and the embroidered was "Yo no soy chef. I'm not a chef." That's what I
didn't
had.
know that.
Yeah,
That's great.
that's what I had in my jacket, out of respect, because I'm wearing a chef jacket, and I didn't go to culinary school. I hadn't worked at a restaurant, so I'm,
maybe I so respect that from you. That is amazing. Yes, I didn't know.
so yeah, it's but yeah, that I mean, I learned that from the back, and of course, there's beautiful stories. I remember once I don't remember the year of that, but at Osteria Francescana with Cristina Reni, who was working at the time for Food for Soul. We did arepa staff meal. So we did arepas for everybody at Osteria.
That's the arepas with mortadela story,
Arepa
no?
with mortadella, stracciatella, all that. And it was also a way of showing where we come from.
Of course.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what was GasTROPop and sort of what happened there? Because
Good
I
point.
think also because there's still so many people that we meet, even me meeting them for the first time, that remember these events and remember the dishes.
Yes.
And this is something that I think this is something else that you brought into the legacy of Caracas food scene.
Yeah.
So,
Again, I always felt that curiosity for the hospitality world, for the restaurant world, and while working at Café Atlantic, I met Luis Daniel Rojas, who's amazing chef. Now he's in Hong Kong, um, and we always talked about doing something together. No, he was it was of course Laurent Cantino was the head chef, and Luis Daniel was the chef de cuisine. That was also the time of Cocina Emocional with Omar Sharam and Valentina Centey. We're like all like talking, okay, we gotta do something together, but we didn't know what. And he had a full-time job, I had a full-time job. So in one trip to LA, I go and I meet Ludo Lefebvre from Ludo. He started Ludo Bites, and that was one of the first major pop-ups in, at least in the US. And what he did was so groundbreaking at the time. So there was this bakery that closes at 5, and he was cooking at a very high-end restaurant. Don't remember the name now. And he said, "My friends cannot come to a restaurant where I work because it's like super expensive. It's
you need to book, whatever." Yeah.
So he started doing these pop-ups called Ludo Bites. Him and his wife, Christine, I think. They were like the hottest table in LA. I don't know how I managed to get a table. I think
he always gets a table.
I think I wrote an email and I introduced myself. Actually, in their book, in all the people they thank all the like writers and food bloggers, and YoCulinario is there. Yeah.
Oh.
So I go there. I remember I was with my sister because it was a trip for my family was in the shoe business at the time. I think we were like talking to some vendors or a food a fair or something. But I was with my sister in LA for work, family work, and we end up getting that table at Ludo Bites. I go there. The ambience was insane. The food was insane, but it was like amazing food, but in a very hip environment, loud music. Ludo was amazing. And again, this is like normal, but it was like all these like tattooed chef with like a attitude. It was great. So I come back to Caracas, and first thing I do, like I call Luis Daniel, like I got it. I know what's the thing that we always wanted to do and we didn't know what to do. We're gonna do a pop-up. We called it GasTROPop, and the name GasTROPop, the trop was in capital because trop is like a lot in
French, yeah.
In French, so it was like giving a lot, enjoying everything. So that's how we kicked off GasTROPop without any idea of what we wanted to do.
And the format was kind of the same. So you would take places that would close at night?
Not necessarily. Sometimes it would be restaurants.
And it was dinner only, right?
It was dinner only. So we would do restaurants, and for that weekend, it would be our restaurant. So we started, I remember, at Chacao Bistro. It was this little bistro in Chacao. Tiny place, lovely place. So the first two GasTROPops were there, and the menu was like super creative at the time. We had like bone marrow from St. John. I remember
because I remember, sorry to interrupt, I remember that, I mean, it was almost like themed every time, and you would always like take inspiration, like you would do like a molecular one, and then
Asian or something.
Exactly, right. Yeah.
So the first one, I almost remember the menu now, but we had, I remember like casabe tomaca. So we had a tribute to Ludo. I remember he had one dish in the dinner I went. It was like a blood sausage mousse with wasabi and apples. That was mind-blowing. So we replicated that dish as a tribute to Ludo Bites, who inspired us to do GasTROPop.
Claro.
Luis Daniel did. He was the chef. I was front of the house, and it was great. We did, I think, 15 of them, and it started getting so big. I mean, at the beginning, we wanted to do it all like guerrilla, so you wouldn't know about it. If you know, you know, like mailing lists, but it became huge. Again, Caracas was a very lively city. People had hunger for culinary experiences,
Yeah.
so it was the right time. It became huge. We ended up being featured at the big newspaper, like half page, like with picture of us, like GasTROPop changing the like culinary
This was early
landscape.
2000s, I guess.
This was
Not so early.
no, like 2010 maybe. I need to go back to the pictures, but yeah, it was probably around 2008, 2010.
You're right, because I remember we looked into this, and I know that I never went to any of your gastropops
Yeah.
because I had already left.
You had left to
Venezuela.
Barcelona.
Yeah.
So no, it was great, and there were two milestones that happened for GasTROPop to like that tell a lot of what we did. One, of course, it was super fun. We would do again, we would take over Planta Baja and did brunch or did ramen, or we did an Asian one. We also did like a sandwich one, and we had like pork belly buns from Momofuku.
Oh, wow.
So it
Nice.
was very fun, but it became so big that for me, one of the greatest thing is Alto, which was like the most regarded, awarded restaurant
In Caracas at the
Venezuela
time.
or Caracas,
From Carlos Garcia.
Carlos Garcia. They invited us to do a GasTROPop at Alto,
Oh, wow.
which was great for both. For us, it was like validating what we do, and
100%.
for Alto, which was this super like high end restaurant, trying to like reach
Tony,
also
yeah.
like a younger audience. And the menu was so successful, and the menu was for lunch only because, of course, Alto for dinner wanted to be Alto. But I remember we did one like lunch service Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and it sold out so fast that we did it 2 weeks. So the following week we did again Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and it was our take on fine dining, but with our twist. So I remember we did like our version of Coco Van or things like that. It was like we would get super creative. Luis Daniel, of course, an amazing chef. We would put together the ideas he would bring into life. It was great. I remember another time at Franca, which was a bakery in Las Mercedes. It's a bakery, and they had these like bread ovens. So and Franca, yeah, they closed at 5. We did like a pizza pop up at Franca, and remember it was in the Avenida Principal de las Mercedes, like Las Mercedes, which is like very big commercial neighborhood, the main street, and we collapsed the street because we would.
I mean, those streets were already quite collapsed.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So we did, I remember, 100 pizzas a night, and we did it, I think, for 1 week, and it was crazy. Like people at the door, traffic, people honking outside. It was like a mess.
It was like the Miami Slice or
Exactly.
Angelos of Caracas of the 2000s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we ended up also, they invited us to Mexico, and we did a GasTROPop in Mexico. We did a GasTROPop in Maracaibo. So it became really big. And it was also, I always tell the story, it was very fulfilling, but at the end, also not sad, but GasTROPop would be like at the best case scenario 1 week, but most of them were like Thursday to Sunday, so 4 days. So each GasTROPop was like new menu, new concept. I admire Luis Daniel so much because we would be doing like sandwiches from the world 1 month, and the next month the GasTROPop would be like Asian cuisine.
Yeah.
So we started like on a Thursday, a mess, fixing the recipes, getting it right, and by the time the 4th day everybody was smooth, it was over. No?
It was, yeah.
So, but again, it was, and that's what pop-ups. We go to a lot of pop-ups, and you
I
say,
do a lot of pop-ups.
Exactly.
And it's exactly like that.
Exactly. And when we go to, let's say, a famous chef is here, and everybody's like, oh, it's not like going to his restaurant. Of course it's not. I mean, he's in a different kitchen with different ingredients,
Different
with a new
stuff,
team. So
of course.
it's a different experience.
Exactly. You have to sort of set the expectations
Exactly.
to the right environment. No, absolutely. So, in parallel to all of this, and I bring your professional life now into the story because this is sort of the origins or how the idea of Gluttonomy is born.
Yeah.
So we need to sort of take a step back for people to understand the story. So at this point, you still have a sort of finance and tech job, right?
Yes.
So you leave Ernst and Young because
Yeah, with two, Roberto and Cesar, we founded a company called TEDxis.
correct.
Just to give some context, in the year when I moved back to Venezuela to work for Ernst & Young was 1998. It was the dot-com, the
Madness,
madness, no? So everybody wanted to raise capital, do a startup, become a billionaire by 30 and retire. And that was what we wanted to do. Didn't work out. But so we started this company. It was called first Twin Division, then TEDxis, and I won't go into the details. But TEDxis was a tech mobile company, and we did a lot of like SMS campaigns. You know, when you say send like Shakira to win a concert ticket or send the word Real Madrid and participate in a sweepstake for the t-shirt, whatever, no? So we started doing a lot of those things.
So to be clear for people to know, so this TEDxis is basically the technology provider.
Yeah, it's a technology provider for those SMS messages
Exactly.
connected to all the carriers in the world.
Exactly.
No? So, but that company that would do like, let's say, a TV channel or something that wanted to do this campaign of
SMS
sweepstake, they would ask us for like the creative, the copy, the flyer, everything. And we ended up doing a lot of marketing work, and we were a tech company. So we said, doesn't feel right. We're using tech resources to do another thing. So we decided to create a mobile marketing agency called La Causa. And La Causa, the logo was like a person holding a phone. But the name of La Causa came with we partnered with another creative agency, and we were having dinner at a Peruvian restaurant in Los Palos Grandes. And we're like, okay, what's the name of the company? We were like brainstorming, making notes, and we get served La Causa. And we're like, oh, tremenda causa, like this causa is so good. And we're like, that's the name, La Causa. So it became La Causa Agencia Móvil.
See, it's what I meant. Like all these milestones have so much like food love tainted throughout.
Exactly.
Right?
So we started La Causa. Again, we were the partners of TEDxis with another agency. We ended up buying the other half. And when we started...
So your marketing experience starts here.
Yes, okay. The official.
Officially,
my MBA was on international marketing too, and I used to do marketing for TEDxis as well. But that was like when I got deep into creative processes and campaigns and everything.
And agency work.
Yeah. Which I always say, and I tell my team and everything, like sorry for all my mistakes, because my first job at a marketing agency
was
owner and CEO. So I'm sorry for all the mistakes that I make. No, but and then we started working a lot with Ogilvy and 101 with Bobby Coimbra. I learned so much with him. He was like this eminence of the AdWord Brazilian living in Venezuela. And of course, TEDxis is going on. My food world is going on with the pop-ups and the travel and the writing and everything. And I was writing much less at the time because I was so busy, like running two companies and everything. But when we started working closer with Ogilvy and like working with big accounts, and we were again like the digital mobile arm, I saw how these amazing agencies, with all respect, they are great in their methodology, amazing creative people. I met so many interesting, talented people there. But I saw the lack of sensitivity for the food industry, or lack of understanding of the food industry. No,
it's almost like they were treating all their clients the same.
Yeah, it's a bank, a shoe, a perfume, a bag of chips, everything, a beer.
Everything went through the same sort of funnel.
Yeah, exactly. So with Borja and Ken at the time, we were talking, like we were all like three business people with strong love for food. No,
And this is about 2013, maybe
yeah,
2014.
2013, 14. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I was still living in Venezuela, traveling a lot. Venezuela was going through very hard times politically, like protests. I mean,
That's another podcast.
yeah, exactly. A long one, maybe a series. So we start thinking about, okay. I mean, Borja was also in Borja and Ken were also in the advertising world, and we say, okay, there's a need in the industry for a food agency, an agency that specializes in food, and that's how we ended up creating Gluttonomy. Borja left right after we founded it because he moved to Spain.
Pero bueno, you sort of the idea is born while you were living in Venezuela, but you decide that you will move to Miami in order to found and open.
Absolutely,
Gluttonomy.
yeah. There's two things that merged. One was it was harder and harder to live in Venezuela at the time, and two, if we wanted to create this global agency for the food industry, I mean, Caracas is not the place to do it.
Of
we
course.
we need to do it in the U.S. We Ken had moved from London to New York at the time, but I was in Miami, so we were okay. Should we do it in New York, in Miami, and starting a company in New York was like 50% more expensive than starting in Miami. So we decided to start in Miami, and that's 2015 where Gluttonomy was
But when
born.
you moved, exactly.
Yeah, I moved and I went back from managing a company with like 45 employees to going back to startup. I remember,
Workspace.
yeah, like Salim, my cousin who had an office in downtown Miami, he let me use one of his desks. So I started again from zero, building up Gluttonomy because
Well, but with so much baggage and knowledge at this point, that it was probably a very different
it
kind of
was
startup.
it was I wouldn't say it was easy, but of course I had like an investor who believed in the project, still believes. I had even though I was the only one in the operation, the other two co-founders were like very helpful. Gabriel and Guillermo, who were with me at La Causa, I brought them. I mean, La Causa was disintegrated, so they were doing other things, and I called them back to join Gluttonomy, also Astrid. So I put together this team of people I work with, people I trusted, to start again Gluttonomy. Sorry.
Amazing. And so I know you said that you wanted to talk a little bit about like the Miami evolution and food scene. But I think sort of, you spoke about that with Michael and with
go listen
to the other
episodes. Yeah.
But I think it's so you're in Miami, you're building Gluttonomy. Gluttonomy is obviously slowly but surely growing at this point, which is great because you're sort of utilizing in the right sense all these connections, all this love for the food industry. You were lucky enough because you traveled so much that you had connections all throughout Latam, really, right? And the States.
Yes.
So, I think it was sort of very natural how it was not forced.
Absolutely.
The growth of Gluttonomy. And just because I want to just carry on with this sort of food theme thread of your life, I think it would be nice to sort of tell a little bit the story of how we met very briefly.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I think all sort of these life milestones have been marked by a food event.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. And you tell the story better than me, but I'm being interviewed, so I'll say it. No,
you don't need to tell so many details.
Exactly.
But
So basically, that's like when I tell the story, it's like a 5-minute story. When Paula says it's like
Obviously.
25 with all the details and everything. So I was by myself in Mexico City. I think I went to renew my passport or something like that.
This was February 2020.
February 2020.
Yes.
There was something going on in China with like a flu.
Virus or something.
We didn't know yet. So I'm having lunch at Puyol, amazing restaurant. It just turned 25 years, so great for Enrique and on his team. So I'm having the taco macase at the bar. and you're eating by yourself at the bar. You end up talking to the people next to you, and next to me there were three people, two guys and a woman from Spain who lived in Mexico. So we're having like this amazing taco macas experience. We finish our meal, and like dessert, coffee, and everything, they do it in the garden, no, in the terrace at Puyol, which was beautiful. And you were having lunch by yourself also because
And a table.
yeah,
Yes.
you were going to Oaxaca there for a wedding in Tulum.
So I was in Mexico also, and I was having lunch by myself as
Exactly,
well.
at a table. So I sit with these other three people at the terrace. We're having coffee, and then you were walking like by yourself, looking for a place to where to sit. And one of the guys from Spain, he calls you like to join our table. And funny enough, he makes like a sign to me like, "Hey, I'm gonna hook you up with this girl." No, little did he know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we sat together, and I mean, from there, I remember we ended up going to Ticuchi.
Yeah, exactly. And
for-
I mean, these people leave. We ended up talking. We ended up, realizing that we had so many people in common.
Yeah.
Obviously from the industry, and there was something that just bringing it back to Gluttonomy that I will always remember is that. When these people are leaving, you handed out business cards, and you gave me one as well, even though I wasn't leaving. And that's when I realized that you were the founder of Gluttonomy.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if I was the first, or I was probably one of the very first people that you realized that I knew of Gluttonomy and of all the things that you were doing. And I followed Gluttonomy on Instagram, but I had no idea who you were.
Yeah.
And you were like, "What? You know about Gluttonomy and you don't know who I am?" And I was
Exactly.
like, no, sorry.
Yeah, that was a great. I mean, of course, it was a great time, great moment when we stayed in touch. And long story short, we
got
are married.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, talking about food, we got married in Modena with Massimo
as well. Yeah,
who it was a great. A great wedding where food was probably
was the best.
the main the main
the main thing, yeah. But I think it's so meaningful that that we met in a restaurant, and that you ended up marrying a chef basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just it's so coherent with your story.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal a phrase from Ryan King, who I admire and love, one of my best friends. He says like the table is a stage of life, no, and it's so true.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So at this point, let's just move to like current days. So I was living in London at the time that we met. And we agreed and have managed to live between London and Miami
throughout the pandemic.
And for the past essentially 4 years. We work hard, but we're also very lucky to sustain this life. So do you want to talk a little bit about like London food scene, Miami food scene?
Yeah.
What it brings to you, how it complements you in a way?
I think it's great to spend life between two cities that are so opposite, because you appreciate those differences and you enjoy those differences. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. They are like super different. They are so different that they're almost opposite, no?
Yeah.
But when you're in London, you miss like some things on Miami. When you're in Miami, you miss some things in London, maybe you more than I. But I mean, for me, London is one of the most exciting cities in the world. Being the food scene, one of them, of course. I mean, it's art, culture, music, you name it. But I think London's food scene today is probably one of the most exciting in the world. What's going on, especially where we live in East London, like you have these little places like. Every restaurant that opens in Miami is like 120 seats. We need to make
huge place,
$3 million, whatever. And in London, it's very like low key, local chef, 25 seats. So I appreciate that a lot about London. And of course, in London, we have amazing Asian food, amazing Indian food. Maybe what London is lacking, Miami is very rich, which is the Latin
Scene.
scene,
Yeah.
like amazing Peruvian, Venezuelan, Colombian restaurants,
Ecuadorian.
Ecuadorian. So I think that's interesting of both cities. Of course, London much more mature in terms of culinary scene, and Miami maybe very nascent. Now, when I moved here 10 years ago, compared to today, there was nothing. Now it's so exciting to be in Miami and to enjoy everything that's going on. Again, I'm not gonna go deep. We've talked about it in probably every other episode in the
Yes.
podcast. But yeah, I enjoy London a lot in terms of those, like from the Devonshire in like very classic pop food to Mambao, like crazy Asian to
To Yuki
Mante.
Bar,
Yeah,
Manteca, who were
yeah,
here.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm very happy that I get to enjoy
Both, yeah.
both cities.
And I guess I would add to all of that that on one hand, I think I always admire very much what we're doing at Gluttonomy, and I'll say we, because even though I'm not officially, I
absolutely.
am part of it. What we do at Gluttonomy in the terms of like, helping shape the current sort of food scene in Florida, but also in a way, hopefully in the US as well. And to bring a little bit of that matureness of London into a city that I feel that if London is an adult, Miami is definitely a teenager.
Exactly.
And I think that's it's you see it by how many restaurants are opening and how many are closing and who's coming, who's leaving, what's happening. It feels like like the hormones of a teenager. They're like and it's nice to connect those two cities and what they can learn from each other in a way. Maybe London needs a little bit of a shake sometimes, or review some things from the perspective of a teenager, and vice versa. Miami can definitely learn so much from something that is so established as the UK food scene, right?
And that's why when we did the Manteca Sonny's dinner, I wanted to connect those two restaurants because Sonny's is amazing on its own way and Manteca too, but they both have like the strong pasta element, grill. So I think they are probably like, I wouldn't say sister, but cousins restaurants. Yeah. And it was great to see both having this pop-up. Having Manteca do a pop-up dinner at Sonny's. No?
Amazing. So I think sort of now to sort of close, I don't know if there's a way to answer this, because if we look back, you start as, this kid who grows up in a very food focused driven household. Somehow you start growing this passion for restaurants between what your parents offer you, but also through football.
Yeah.
You travel, you get to travel a lot. You get to, feed into this passion for the food industry. You get into tech, you get into finance, you get into marketing, you're writing, you're doing pop-ups. If I go back
Did I? All that?
Sí, mi amor, all of that. And so I said at the beginning, you always know where you start, but you don't know where you end up. Can you answer what's next?
Wow. Yeah, I always have this thought that I wanted to reinvent myself every 10 years. Because when you start something, like you're like start from zero, you have like full energy and you put all your resources into it. And that keeps you alive, keeps you active, keeps your brain busy. And I'm not saying now I'm going to change gears or anything, but as an evolution for what Gluttonomy is today and combining it with what TEDx's is, like very mature, 25-year-old company, like how can I put together all this experience as an entrepreneur, starting up different companies, but also now with a strong knowledge and strong connections in the food world. I think one of the things I'm looking into is how to put together all that expertise into new food businesses, but not necessarily me starting it, but how can I empower other people with great ideas, with all like maybe all my knowledge, maybe helping them fund their startups, for fund their
The content, yeah.
restaurants or food and tech. But being so involved in the food industry, I guess, helps me identify those opportunities, or those chefs who I think can make a difference, or those startup companies who are developing products that are gonna become hopefully big. So right now I'm in this moment where I'm thinking, how can I put together all this knowledge, all these contacts, all these
Experience, yeah.
experience into empowering other people? No, so you name it. I don't know, a fund where I raise money from investors to invest in these companies, or as an advisor, always having Gluttonomy as the arm that's gonna execute
Execute.
strategies, create the brands, create the
Yeah.
packaging, launch those companies, those products. No,
Yeah.
I think that's probably a logical next step.
Yeah, yeah. Bueno, I hope you also start writing a bit more as well.
I need to. I know
It's
we've been
something
talking
we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's
and,
been there in the back burner for like maybe 10 years. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe that role will give me more time to
Yeah.
go back to writing. Hopefully, we'll
Okay.
see.
Bueno, I don't know. Is there anything else you would like to say? Any
No,
last message?
well, no, maybe this podcast is part of this exploration of what else I can do
100%.
to give back to the industry, but also to explore other areas of
Or creative outlets
content.
even,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So this podcast is probably about that. But no, again, thanks for pushing me
To do
to
it.
do
Yes.
this. Again, I always think or want to talk about other people and maybe not talk much about me. So thanks for
Yeah.
the opportunity and for making me sit at this
On the
side
other
of
chair.
the table.
Yeah, no, I
But
think-
next episode I'll be probably back there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know, like I said, I know I'm biased, but I do find your story, o sea, fascinating, and
Thanks.
and I really do think it's something that hopefully people will find equally interesting, as an example of how to persuade your dreams or your ideas, or and obviously, you know, here we've talked about, you know, the pigs and the good all the good stories, right?
Yeah.
And obviously throughout all this, I don't know, 25, 30 years of experience as an entrepreneur has its downs and its challenges, and some things didn't come up as expected, you know, and you know, some people were left behind in the process.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at what you've accomplished, in the balance, the way of the positive is so
Yeah.
much bigger. And I think you have to give, or I will give you credit for how much of sort of an influence you've been for so many people.
Thanks. No, and at the end of the day, like my probably closing message is, whatever you do, good or bad, or I mean, you learn from some experiences. You start like having like a bag of tools, of knowledge, of things that you learn what to do, what not to do. And basically, as this bag gets bigger, you can do more things. And even though it sounds contradictory, like with this bigger band, you can probably walk longer distances.
Yeah,
no?
I would even say, don't put it in a bag. Maybe have it, you know, as those like garage walls where you have
exactly.
where you can actually see all your tools.
Good point.
You know? Like,
good point.
So that you actually access them. And I think whatever is next for you, it will be. I know that you would want to use as many tools as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, well, thank you very much for the opportunity of interviewing you. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening.
If they're still listening.
If they're still listening, and for watching. Again, I don't know, like, subscribe, like us, share us. It's been a great season 2. So
yes,
congrats
thank you.
on that.
Thank you. And looking forward to talk to you again soon. I guess, yeah, we're working on the 3rd season already, probably.
Super. All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.